California has the worst hemp agricultural laws in the entire United States. We have 52 ag commissioners. So that means if I have like a Jinma fiber seed and I want to sell that seed in 52 counties, I would have to take that seed paperwork and get it approved by 52 ag commissioners. So to approve a seed variety saying, oh, this is a legal seed, I'm going to sign off, it takes them 8 hours of work. It's about $1,200 the county has to spend to approve my seed, times 52 counties. So it will cost the state $62,000 to approve my seed in 52 counties for one variety. And we've tried to explain to them, but they don't listen.
That's Chris Boucher, California hemp farmer, co-founder of JuiceTiva and Hemp Industry OG. This is the Lancaster Farming Industrial Hemp Podcast. Hi there, my name is Eric Herlock, and today we're going to check back in with Chris Boucher out there in Southern California, where he and his team are making JuiceTiva, a cold-pressed hemp juice powder. We'll hear about the company, but we're also going to spend some time talking about California, the politics of hemp in California, and big marijuana's role in these politics. All that and more right after these messages from our sponsors and a big old nugget of hemp news. Our show today is made possible with support from IND Hemp in Fort Benton, Montana, where they support farm families and rural communities by producing and supplying the natural materials to make products and industry more sustainable while regenerating the earth with agriculture. They call it the goodness of hemp. Check them out at indhemp.com and check out the line of products they make with their brands, All Walks. They have pet products, and Hemptana, and they make farm and ranch products. So check them out. Go to indhemp.com. Okay, welcome back. So the big news nugget this week, this very last week of January 2025, is coming out of Washington, D.C., and it's all about President Trump's attempt to freeze federal aid. But a federal judge has temporarily blocked President Trump's attempt to freeze the money. The abrupt spending freeze announced Monday by Trump's Office of Management and Budget caused confusion among grant recipients. Trump's press secretary, Carolyn Leavitt, said the freeze applied only to diversity and green initiatives targeted by Trump's executive orders, not all federal assistance. But critics, including Hannah Smith Brubaker of PASA Sustainable Agriculture, warned of serious consequences for farmers relying on these funds. The USDA is reviewing how to implement the executive orders, and uncertainty remains around climate-smart grants, including a $60 million grant to New York and Cornell University. Some Pennsylvania farm organizations are unsure how they will be affected. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro called the rollout chaotic and reckless, while U.S. Representative Steny Hoyer led 150 House Democrats in demanding transparency. For now, the judge's ruling halts the freeze, but the future of these programs remains unclear. Yeah, so we've got we're following this story at lancasterfarming.com, so go there to keep up to date. But also, I am reaching out to folks in the hemp space that I know are going to be affected by this. So we'll be putting some shows together in the near future about that, because a lot of the folks that I have come to know in this space are going to be affected. So I'm curious where that's going to leave the hemp industry, what's going to happen this year. There's just so much uncertainty right now. So while we wait to see what happens, it's a good time to check back in with Chris Boucher. Like I said in the intro, he's, an original gangster in the hemp space. Used to hang out with Jack Herer. He planted industrial hemp in California in 1994 with a USDA permit. So this guy's got some great stories and insight, and he's in California, and I really don't understand California anymore. Not sure I ever did, but anyway, Chris very graciously agreed to explain California to me a little bit. So we're going to hear that right now. All right, here we go. Chris Boucher. Welcome back to the show. It's been a while. Our last interview was back in July of 2022, and the world has changed considerably since then, in those 2.5 short years. Anyway, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's a pleasure and honor to be on your show, and really appreciate what you do.
Cool. Likewise. Thank you for being here. So in preparation for our call today, I listened back to that 2022 interview, and you tell just amazing stories. Like, I can't believe how many just cool stories you have from hemp days back in the, so first I want to encourage listeners to go back and listen to that episode, because you talk about meeting Jack Herer. He sort of becomes your mentor. You start a business. What is it? The Hempstead Company. You've got retail locations. You're importing hemp. You're making hemp stuff in America. At one point, the USDA gives you a permit to grow fiber hemp in California. Yeah. Just all of the stuff that you hear about it, now it's like, wow, you were really ahead of your time, I guess, or whatever. So lots of cool stuff. You were involved with founding the HIA, the Hemp Industries Association. You were involved in that landmark case with where the HIA sued the DEA, sort of established the legality of CBD. So lots of great stories. I would love for you to tell me those again today, but I heard them already, and I think we have some other stuff to talk about today. Today I want to talk about sort of current events out there and get your perspective on some things that are happening in California, because here I'm outside of Philadelphia near Lancaster, and California is the other side of the world. What happens there, who knows sometimes. So if you don't mind, you'll be sort of like my California whisperer today. You can.
Sure.
Cool. And also, I want to hear what's going on with your company, JuiceTiva. So lots to talk about. So, all right. So that was a lot. So anyway, welcome back to the show. I'm really thankful that you're here. So why don't you give us a quick reintroduction?
Yeah. Starting back from the original days?
Nah, just what's happening now.
What's happening now is everything that we never thought would happen in the hemp industry. Hemp gets you healthy. Now today it's hemp gets you high. The narrative has changed. The loopholes, the little pinholes that are in the fabric have exploded into this whole billion-dollar industry with, we call them HDIs, hemp-derived intoxicants. So we've seen this massive explosion, what we've never imagined. No one ever forecasted it. And now you got marijuana companies getting into the hemp space.
Yeah.
And it's incredible what's happened. A few years ago, we decided to, come up with a new product, more so really digging into the nutrition and the health benefits of the hemp leaf and hemp flower. It is probably the most misunderstood part of the plant. At the same time, it's the most nutritious part of the plant. Why aren't we using it? Why isn't anyone making stuff out of it? And as you know from my past, I'm not a hemp entrepreneur, business person, and more so than anything, I'm a visionary in the hemp. I've always been ahead of the hemp game, always thinking ahead. Hey, what's next? I don't know if that's good for business. Sometimes you got to wait a couple of years for the revenue to come in. But
right.
So the vision was, hey, let's take this hemp leaf and juice it up. Of course, 1996, Jack Herer in his apartment in Van Nuys gave us some raw hemp juice. We all spit it out and said, this is the nastiest stuff ever. And he was like, this is the most nutritious, most healthiest part of the plant. And he encouraged us to make it. And that was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that vision came around, and watching the industry take shape with the CBD. And, as you know, I was the author of Hemp CBD is Legal in All 50 States in 2011. And boy, that got me in trouble. I was kicked out of the HIA. Everyone said, oh, CBD doesn't come from hemp. It's a scam. I said, no, here's the science. Here's the proof. I don't promote it as much, but definitely I was a co-author of the legal opinion, hemp CBD is
Yeah.
legal in all 50 states. And no lawyer would write a legal opinion because if you write a legal opinion, you better back it up because you can lose your law
Hmm.
license. So we met this woman attorney and she was great. And she said, I'll write your legal opinion. We had it drafted. She goes, cut me a check for $40,000 and I'll write the opinion. And we went to the bank and got the 40,000. This is when I worked for MJ&A with Mike Lamas and that whole crew, Stuart Titus, and we gave her the cashier's check, and we had the legal opinion, and we used that legal opinion when I imported the first 1,000 kilos of CBD from Europe.
Right.
In
Right.
2012, before hemp was even legal, CBD, we were bringing it underneath the harmonized tariff code of hemp oil.
And
And so
were you
it was
growing in the Czech Republic? Is that what I remember you saying last time?
Yeah, okay, yeah, I probably covered that. The Czech Republic, Germany,
Okay.
and we processed it there, shipped the oil in, and we had the legal opinion, and then we used the same paperwork when we shipped it to different companies, Bluebird, and
Right.
you name the companies that started out, they all bought it from us. And long story short, so fast forward, 2022, 23, we decided to come up with this new product, and I've been researching it for many, many years, and really how to extract the nutrients and the vitamins and the minerals, the phytocannabinoids, the polyphenols, the canaflavins in the hemp leaf. How do you get it, and how do you stabilize it, and how do you bring it to the consumer?
Hmm.
Yeah, we can make juice, but it goes bad in 3 or 4 days. It's a
Okay.
raw juice. So we developed an extraction process, cold press, and then we have a lyophilization process we've developed. It's like a freeze dry, spray dry type proprietary method that we're able to stabilize all of the vitamins, minerals, all the nutrients, and more important, we can stabilize and preserve the acidic cannabinoids.
Oh wow.
Uh, the CBDA, CBGA, CBCA. So all these really powerful, um, very, I call them nutrients
Yeah.
because they affect the nutritional value of your digestive system, your brain, gut to brain health. Not a medicine, but more of a health nutritional
Sure.
product. That's how we view
Okay.
it.
And so you're using not only the flower but the leaf as well. I mean, are these like full size plants that you're using, or I know
Now,
some people are using little starts like seedlings,
yeah, we grow it. We have
microgreens, I guess they're called.
Yeah, the little microgreens, those are much smaller. We basically grow the hemp to a certain height and a certain maturity. We harvest it before it goes into full flower. We look for the most water content, moisture. The older the plant gets, it loses its moisture and content, and so and we've developed some hemp CBD varieties that we grow down in Imperial County. We grow all year round. Pretty much, we start in September and our last harvest is in June. Everyone says, well, how do you do that?
Well, you're in California, right?
Well, we're in a specific area in California, which is the Imperial Valley. It borders Mexico and Arizona. And I mean, I can see Mexico from our field. We're 5 miles away. And we're about 180 feet below sea level. And Imperial Valley is one of the most productive farm regions in North America. It supplies 90% of America's winter vegetables. So when you
Okay.
start looking at that, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
well, that's why they call it Imperial.
Right. Right.
Anything better than this.
Um,
And,
so
and
first, you're in California. I know, like we hear the stories about the fires in LA. You're not quite there, but hopefully that's not affecting you. Hope everything is okay for you and your family out
yeah,
there.
we're safe. The fires were up about 2 hours north of
Mm.
us. I'm in San Diego now, up in
Okay.
the eastern San Diego County, up in the mountains, and we do have fire warnings. They shut the power off up here once the wind gets to 20 miles an hour. most people don't know, most of these fires have been started by the utility company. Their power lines fall to the ground and start these fires, and then they make us pay for it on the monthly bill.
Boy, um, wow, that's some heavy duty stuff there. But that's not the only like problem happening out there in California. The other seems to be a problem with some hemp laws, right? You've got Governor Newsom who sort of outlawed all kind of hemp products back in September, and that's about to run out in March. Do I have that right?
It continues in March for 90 days. So what happened was this hemp-derived intoxicant market, these drinks and gummies, and they're consumable. And you can drink a drink and you'll drink another one, and it's a high revolving, huge business. Some of these companies are doing 10, $20 million a month.
Wow.
And they were selling it into head shops, they were selling it into gas stations, health food stores, even liquor stores. And, some people don't want to drink alcohol. I think they're really cool. They're great drinks, but they really push the limit of legality where you're putting, 20 milligrams of hemp THC into a drink. You drink 20, THC is THC, whether it's from hemp or
Yeah.
cannabis.
Yeah.
And so what's happened is there's a word called hemp derived, and that's the key word that they use in terms of the legal end. So, and I just give you a quick background why the governor of California declared an emergency order. Um, so when we look at the CBD industry, all the tinctures and the bottles with full spectrum CBD oil. Usually it's like a 1 to 25 or a 1 to 30 ratio of CBD to THC. And you get a 30 mil or a 60 mil tincture, and there's probably a little more than zero point 0.3 in the bottle, but you're only taking so many drops. So you've got 30 doses in a bottle or 60 doses. So what these guys are doing, they're putting 20 milligrams in a 12-ounce can and saying, oh, there's 20 servings. And so 20 servings at 0.3. So let's go back another step. 0.3% THC, if you equate that into milligrams, it's about 2.5 milligrams of THC, 3,000 parts per million. That's kind of what it equals. So industrial hemp, 0.3. But if you put 20 milligrams and you divide it by 20 servings, only putting 0.3 in each drink sip.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this thing went through the roof. I mean, it was, I don't want to say on fire. That's probably the wrong word to use. So
Too soon for that metaphor.
yeah. And so at the same time, the marijuana industry, all in California, all the dispensaries, people have paid a lot of money to be in the business and operate a marijuana store.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, their main ally is Governor Newsom. He's pro marijuana. And he's always been really tough on hemp. He's never been a hemp guy. He's all marijuana, it's revenue, taxes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He doesn't care about us. So basically, the marijuana lobby went to him and said, look I have $1 million store and we're selling 10 milligram, 20 milligrams THC. And the gas station, the health food store across the street selling THC with no license.
Yeah. They're cutting into our market. Yeah.
Into our market. And the whole marijuana industry is imploding. And they're losing money, night and day. So this was
just because of that, or why do you think the marijuana industry is imploding?
Because everyone's growing it. The price has gone from $2,000 a pound to $500 a pound. So there's no profit in it. I mean, giant growers, investors, they've built 100,000 square foot facilities, and they're flooding the market. And then of course there's still the black market that people who might not want to go into a dispensary, wait in line, get their ID checked, drive down the store.
Get their government weed. Yeah.
Yeah. And the taxes on it are just ridiculous. So they pretty much lobbied the governor. And so what he did was he used a thing called the children. So the children are drinking it. And it's kind of ironic. as you know, I've been involved in every piece of hemp legislation in California since the 90s. And our main opponents were law enforcement. And whether they were the Sheriff's Association lobbyists, the Police Chiefs Association, every single time we were in the assembly or trying to pass a law enforcement will always say, the first sentence would be, the children are going to get hemp. The children are going to they're going to set up, hash labs in the middle of hemp fields. The kids are all going to have access to it. If kids wear a hemp t-shirt or somebody wears a hemp clothing, the children are going to want to use drugs. So I heard that for years, and the first thing he says is the kids. And it's a psychological thing. So in order to do an emergency order and override the political legislative process that you're supposed to use, if there's an emergency, and kids can be an emergency if it's detrimental to their health. So he says, well, children are buying this. Maybe someone did. I don't know. But so in retrospect, the marijuana industry said, look, you need to put a stop to this. So he said, well, the children are having access to THC hemp at the head shop where they don't ID somebody, maybe the gas station, the health food store. There's no regulation in this, so you can sell to anybody pretty much. And
that could be easily solved with like an age gate or whatever they call that, right?
They could have.
Couldn't they do that?
Would have.
Anyway, keep going. I'm sorry.
So what he did was a complete ban on all hemp products that have any detectable THC. But what he used under THC, he used THCA, THCO, Delta 8. He used every derivative that these labs have been pumping out. They're like analogs of THC that get you high. So when he says THC, there's like 15 analogs that fall under that Delta 8. Like I said, THCO.
Yeah.
And so, and that's a whole other issue, all these analogs. And so he said non-detectable. So basically the only thing you could sell would be an isolated CBD powder for finished product. We can still grow hemp, but we can't sell any retail finished product that has any trace of THC, even if it was 0.002 or
still traceable,
something like that.
Oh,
yeah. So in turn, all of the health food stores just got rid of all their CBD, Sprouts and, all the independent health food co-ops, all the stores. And we lost shelf space. I mean, there's companies that lost hundreds of thousands of dollars, and these health food stores just, rather than fight it or sell through, they just sent their product back.
Yeah.
And so not only do you get the ban on really healthy hemp products, you lose shelf space. You don't get that back.
Yeah.
And
so how was JuiceTiva affected by that? You got products sent back to you?
A few stores did. However, we're non-detectable THC, so we're able to harvest the plant. By the time we extract it, the THC is so low, it's non-detectable. Once in a while, we'll get a little THCA in there, but we're able to keep it below that. But most stores don't understand that, so it's
so like the damage has been done. Like as far as retailers are concerned, they're like, oh, hemp, no good. Governor doesn't like it. We don't want to sell it. We don't want to try to understand that you don't have THC in your drinks or whatever.
Yeah, and so what makes it even worse, it's under the CDPH, the California Department of Health, and they can shut you down like that. They're more powerful than law enforcement. The CDPH can walk into your store and say, or restaurant, or wherever you operate your business, and they're one of the most powerful entities. They said this is unsafe or unhealthy, and they can shut you down.
Wow.
And so you don't want them coming in and shutting you down, or even entangling with them, because then they can say, oh, you have another issue. You don't want them in your store.
Yeah, you don't want that in there. Okay.
So, yeah, it's been a big headache. And we went to court with the Hemp Roundtable. We were a plaintiff, and I'm the only plaintiff that's actual farmer, hemp farmer, making a real hemp product. And the Hemp Roundtable, I don't want to put them down. They're doing some good stuff, but now it's the Hemp Derived Intoxicant Roundtable. And these guys, like I said, they've got money. You got Cheech and Chong, you got all these huge companies. I don't want to mention them all because if you say something negative against these hemp-derived intoxicant companies, they come down on you hard. They're
Okay.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you're getting Cheech and Chong, and I'm just using them as an example. They're the lead plaintiff. So we went into court about a month later, state court, to get a temporary restraining order on the governor, called a TRO. And before the trial even started, the judge said to the attorneys representing, all the hemp people, "Oh, you're the guys that are selling the hemp THC to kids." We lost the TRO before the trial even started.
Oh man.
Yeah. So now the new strategy is they're going into federal court, and we're going to try to get a what do you call it? It's an interstate commerce clause
Mm,
where states can't stop federally legal products from entering and doing business in the state. So I hope
okay.
I summed that up in a
Yeah.
concise way.
No, yeah, I understand it a bit better now. Um, does so that doesn't affect any of like the fiber and grain growers or anybody out there who are sort of just decidedly on like out of cannabinoids.
Yeah, well, good question. So when you get cross contaminants, so um, let's just say hemp seed oil, for instance. Um, you could, if you did a mass spec, so when the governor says non-detect, what kind of test is he using? Gas chromatography, mass spectrometer, and you could probably get hemp seed oil and do a mass spectrometer and find, 5 parts per million of THC.
Hmm.
That's how the DEA tried to shut down the hemp industry back in 2000. Is we had our hemp seed oil, and the Department of Justice and the military were testing it under mass spectrometer analysis, and we were coming up 5, 10 parts per million, which is like, wow. You'd never get high. You would never test positive. You'd have to drink a 55-gallon drum of hemp seed oil to
Right.
you die before you would test positive. However, it showed up.
Yeah.
So what does non-detect mean? And these are questions that he didn't answer and didn't, I think, describe in the emergency order. So,
All right.
um, but for that particular product, it could. It even, cross contamination is a big thing. Like with hemp seed protein powder, um, even hemp seed, you can't declare it non-gluten because 90% of all hemp protein powder and seeds come from Canada. And the Canadians, um, all their hemp fields are surrounded by wheat fields. And gluten-free has a 10 parts per million cutoff.
Ah.
So you could have, technically you have to prove that your your hemp protein has less than 10 parts per million of
Right.
potential cross-contamination gluten. I'm just using that as an
Yeah.
example of
No, that's interesting. Were you?
obviously cross-contamination.
Did you follow the AFCO hemp seed for livestock feed thing that was happening last year?
Yes, very
Because
interesting.
that was because right now the current sort of regulation is hemp seed meal has to have less than 2 parts per million THC and less than 10 parts per million CBD, which there's a really like hard targets to hit, right? And so a lot of people are upset about that, but a lot of other people are like, hey, it's a win. We're moving forward. Hemp is now on its way to becoming an acceptable ingredient for livestock feed. So I don't know. It's interesting.
So there's more opiates in a poppy seed than there is THC in a hemp seed. So um, the issue being is you'd have to really wash your initial input product, just clean
Yeah.
it beyond measurable standards. And then you go and, let's say, process 10 tons of animal feed, and it comes up 3 parts per million. You're one fraction of a hairline over. Do they destroy it? So these are, they're some of the most insane agricultural laws in the history of agriculture in America. How could you put that kind of test against a farmer?
Yeah.
We're farmers, and we grow crops to feed people, feed animals, and there's probably more arsenic in your carrots or your broccoli. Why don't you go after arsenic or a pesticide cross contamination? You're going after a minute.
Right. Or even like glyphosate. Like I think the
Yeah.
thresholds for like the poisons are
Yes.
actually like higher than for these. Yeah. Or lower. I'm
So
not sure
yes.
Yeah.
But once you understand that, then you're like, okay, wait, this is not balanced. This is not right.
Yeah.
And who does it affect? It affects the family farmer, the small farmer. The big corporate farmers, they can handle certain losses, but we're a rare breed, family farmers and small business farmers. So
Yeah.
they're slowly getting bought out or dying out.
There was it's called like the Chevron decision that was overturned last year, Supreme Court, and I've heard some sort of rumblings in like the hemp space about that's how they're gonna sort of like get hemp approved is through Supreme Court. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Well, you know, if we start to look at what's going to happen with the HHS, Health and Human Services, FDA, we've got RFK Jr., whether you agree or disagree, he's a health guy. Matter of fact, I grew up with him. I'm from Hyannisport, and I
Oh,
know,
did you
well,
really? Okay.
I knew his brother quite well, David. David
Okay.
passed away in '84. I knew Max. I've known them. I grew up in Hyannisport. Let's just say
Okay.
that. Leave it
Yeah.
at that.
All right.
But and actually, um, I introduced Bobby Kennedy Jr., RFK, to Jack Hera in 1994. You want to hear a story?
I do. Yeah.
So Bobby was doing river keepers. That's where he started his environmental thing, and we made some hemp T-shirts for him one time, and we were going to make some hemp T-shirts, and uh, I told Jack and Captain Ed and everybody, hey, Bobby's coming to Camino College in LA. If you guys want to meet him, I'll get a hold of the office and we can say, hey,
Yeah.
it's an
Yeah.
old kid from the neighborhood. Hey, man. And and when I knew Bobby, he had hair down on his shoulders. He wore an army jacket, ripped jeans, and combat boots.
Okay.
Okay. At the yacht club. So we show up, and he's speaking on river keepers and just all the pollution that's going on, and with the rivers and getting in the fish and so forth. So he met Captain Ed and he met Jack Hera, and he says, "You're my kind of people, man." And he says, and we said, "Hey, can you help us out and endorse hemp?" And at the time, he said, "Look, if I do that, I will lose 99% of all my donors." Because back in '94, hemp was toxic. It was drugs. If you wore a hemp shirt, you were promoting an illegal activity.
Yeah.
Quicksilver, Billabong, they wouldn't do any hemp, even though they're all environmental companies, because the soccer moms and the people were like, oh, if you wear hemp clothing, it's going to make you want to
It was the
smoke dope.
children. The children, right?
Children, yeah, yeah. So there's a picture floating around with Bobby and Jack and Captain Ed. I have to get it. I'll send it to you if I find it.
Okay.
So, anyways, that goes. So he's well aware of this, and
Yes.
so I think he could override the FDA's opinion that CBD might not be safe, and that's why your big box stores, your WalMarts, your Whole Foods, all these huge stores, they sell hemp seeds, hemp oil. I was just in a Walmart and they had hemp lotion, they had hemp seeds, they had hemp protein powder, but no CBD. And they had CBD like gloves and CBD lotion. Don't ask me who's making it. But, and the reason being that all these huge stores, health food stores, don't carry it in supermarkets is because the FDA has an opinion that says it might not be safe.
Right.
So maybe he can change that opinion and say, hey, it's safe.
All
And
right.
it's decimated our industry because all these companies were projected to ride this hemp CBD wave with it being a consumable and an edible. A topical, the revenue isn't there, you know. So hopefully that could be a game changer once they realize that hemp CBD is safe. And so, and the farm bill's taking shape as we speak. Everybody was in DC last week
Yeah.
waving their hemp flags. And so we should have some regulatory compliance and action coming up soon.
You're talking about the HIA flyover? Is that or fly in? What do they call those things?
Yeah, not the HIA, I think, I don't know if they're still even around. It's the Hemp Roundtable.
Oh, roundtable. Right. Okay.
Yeah, oh, they've got big bucks now. I mean, because as the CB industry imploded, the hemp-derived intoxicants exploded,
Yeah.
bigger than
Yeah.
CBD ever was going to be.
Right.
I mean, we're talking a couple $1 billion a year in revenue.
It's so crazy.
I mean,
Yeah.
in Minnesota, the governor of Minnesota said, "Look, this is a farmer's product. The governor is a farmer, okay, and his families are farmers, and everybody that grows hemp in Minnesota is a farmer." And so he said, "Look, let's put these hemp-derived drinks, these THC drinks, in the liquor stores. That way, you can get carded, ID'd. We can regulate it." Last year, it was 18% of all liquor stores in Minnesota, hemp-derived drinks, intoxicants, basically were
Right.
18% of the state sales. I don't know
Yeah.
how many people in Minnesota, but that was pretty
A
good.
fair amount of people. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's cool stuff happening in Minnesota too, around the hemp building, like hempcrete stuff. The Lower Sioux Indian community, they're doing incredible things. I don't know. There's a Patagonia short documentary about them. I can send you a link.
Yeah.
But Danny Desjarlais and his crew of hempcrete builders, they've sort of founded a hemp campus there on the reservation. They've built, I think, 5 hempcrete houses in the past 2 years, and they have plans for, they need housing for their people. Like they have a crisis. They need like 400 houses yesterday. And so it's neat to see what they're doing there. And the International Hemp Building Association just announced that they're going to hold their symposium this year in Minnesota on the reservation to sort of celebrate what the tribe is doing there. It's an incredible story.
Yeah, no, it's everything that we believed in, everything we envisioned, and more so the tens of millions of dollars the USDA is giving tribes like that, giving the NHIC just got $19 million from the federal government. I mean, wow.
No, not the NHIC, the NHA.
NHA, I'm
Got
sorry.
that. But no, that's right. That's actually, I've been following that because they're
Thank
sort
you.
of based here in Pennsylvania. And that money is for a Chesapeake Bay sort of cleanup thing. They want to grow like 5,000 acres of hemp around, like in the counties that surround the Chesapeake Bay that are all, like that's Lancaster County. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
farm runoff that's created a dead zone in the Chesapeake Bay. But now with the new administration, the new Department of Government Efficiency, sort of like an anti-climate change mentality, I'm curious what's going to happen with that money. Like, will things be clawed back? So I don't know. For me, it's like a spectator sport at this point. Like, where are we
Can you
going from
return
here?
that check?
What's?
Can you return that check?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy.
we were looking at some funding here. I'm not in that space. You have
Yeah.
to have grant writers and people that's what they do.
Yeah.
They're not business people, they're grant writers.
Right.
And we've got the Salton Sea out here, which is the most toxic inland piece of water in North America. Salton Sea, I don't know if you've heard of that. It's just largest inland body of water in the United States. And all the farming over the years and the runoff has kind of decimated
Yeah.
the lake, killed it, and it's drying up. And it's quite a unique area. And we'll just leave it at that. But it's hopefully that could
Use some cleaning
used
up
out
too.
here.
Yeah, right. There's a neat group forming sort of out of because I cover, industrial stuff.
Yeah.
I've gotten to know the folks at I&D Hemp up in Montana, and they have a
Yep.
summit. They've had it for the past few years, but there's now a group called the Goodness of Hemp, sort of a campaign. It's more about the industrial aspects, like trying to sort of, I don't know, like tell the story of hemp and have it not be about the intoxicating cannabinoids, because that does such a disservice to everything else that these people are trying to do on the industrial side, feed, fiber, that sort of thing. So,
Yeah, and I think the message gets lost, and in terms of, when they start looking at CBD, which is the main molecule in hemp. It is hemp. That's why it's, the opposite ratio of marijuana. And this whole industry started of from industrial hemp fiber. When we grew in Europe, we used industrial hemp fiber varieties that had 5, 6% CBD.
yeah.
And we were all about the farmer. What can the farmer make? Yeah, we can make a product, but how do we pay the farmer? Is there enough sustainability in terms of revenue just for a single fiber or a herd? Or could the farmer make a little extra money with getting some CBD off of his crop,
Right, right.
getting some nutrients off their crop? And this country was founded on, tricrops, dual crops of hemp. You think George Washington, Thomas Jefferson grew a fiber plant just for fiber, and they grew a seed plant just for seed? No, they had their fiber, they had their medicine, they had their seed, their oil, all from the same plant. And
I'd be curious to learn more about that, because I feel like
tricrops. Yeah.
for your fiber, you would want to cut it. It's like agronomic practices. Like you would want to plant it closer together and then cut it before it flowers for your fiber.
Yep.
And then so I imagine they maybe had sort of varieties that were better, better suited for different purposes. But yeah, you certainly could get everything off of the same plants.
Yeah, it would just your schematic layout on the field, and you could force certain plants. Of course, if you got an indica marijuana variety, it probably isn't gonna produce the fiber. But hemp definitely, THC is THC. Well, they probably didn't get super high, but
Right.
they
Well,
used it for medicine. They could extract
yeah.
the oils out, and they used it in childbirth. Number one, used medicine for childbirth for 200 years in America. So. God forbid. Imagine if you used hemp THC for childbirth today. You'd go to prison.
Well, I am guessing that some people do.
Yes.
But anyway, as you're
Yeah.
telling me about this stuff, it reminds me of the One Plant documentary that you and I are both in.
Yes.
Yeah, they have a cool part in there where they're talking to like the garden manager or the farm manager at Mount Vernon, and he's talking about George Washington growing the hemp. It's a really cool part of the movie. So is your part talking about history. Actually, I think that leads into the George Washington part. So
That's great.
they should be done that soon. It's coming along. I think we're going to see a final version of it sometime later this spring. So that's exciting.
Yeah, get it on Netflix and get it out there. And we just need another. I mean, the industry's booming in certain sectors. But I call it the Sanjay Gupta moment when he came out on CNN, and man, those phones never stopped ringing. That exploded. Well, you can educate 6 million people or 10 million people in one night.
Right, right, yeah.
And so,
That's sort of like the thing I spend time thinking about a lot is like, how do you get out of the hemp bubble? How do you reach, the regular people? Because that's what it needs. That's what
it's the regulatory government anti hemp people that said we can't. Oh yeah, we have to have 2 parts per million in animal feed. Come on, man.
It's
Like
still
you said,
reefer
there's no-
madness.
Yeah, go after the chemicals that are in all the feed, the glycite and all the other pesticides and herbicides, and you're really so getting that mindset out of this government bureaucracy
Yeah.
of regulating agricultural crops. We need to end that soon. And it's not a political statement. It's a farming agricultural statement,
Right.
and that's kind of where we're focused as farmers, and so It's
Yeah,
we want to see it
politics is so messy. It's like everyone seems so divided, but I think when it comes down to it, like we have probably like 90% of our stuff in common, right? It's just like we're being pulled at by the media, the social media to be at each other, and it's not helpful. But
Yeah, it's you might see blue, I might see baby blue, azul blue, cream blue. It's
maybe
like
some red.
it's
There might be some
spectrum.
red. Yeah, maybe some purple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so we're going into that discord,
but
and we
like
even had in California, we just had um, Sacramento County, I think not Sacramento County, but
Sutter. Is it Sutter?
Sutter. Yeah, I got my friends up there. They're all hemp farmers, and they can't believe the ag commissioner. She's been really
Explain that real quick, because I'm not. Other people might not understand what we're talking about.
so in California, we have 52 agricultural commissioners. So if you grow hemp, we have 52 counties or 51 counties, I forget. And there's an ag commissioner in every county. Not like Pennsylvania, you have one ag commissioner. So
And he's
each
the best, by the way. I'll just,
good.
Secretary Redding. Yeah.
So imagine having 52 ag commissioners. Okay, some of them are good and some of them are bad.
If they were all Secretary Redding, that'd be all right. But I see your point.
Yeah. And so it's always been a hassle. They really make the hemp farmers jump through red tape and slow down the testing. And so finally, they said, "Well, we're losing money. We're not going to allow hemp farming without even notifying the hemp farmers."
Oh man.
And some of these guys, they're growing several other crops. They're just not hemp farmers. They're
Yeah.
generational farmers, and they've put millions of dollars into building their infrastructure. And for the ag commissioner to not even give them a heads up. So there was a big rally last week up there. And so we're hoping that she's overstepped her boundaries, and the ag commissioner, they're talking about litigation, but that costs money. So hopefully
Yeah.
we
And
can
from
stop
what
it.
I read, yeah, it was money spent by the county, and they were upset about that because that was like a lot of money. But and then they were saying that people were complaining about the smell too. But it's farming. Like get
It's
over it. It's
yeah.
going to smell.
How about the dairy farm smells? How about the
It smells
cow
good.
lot
I'm
smells?
from southeastern Pennsylvania. Dairy farms smell great.
We're shutting down this cow lot because it smells.
Yeah,
And
so it's frustrating when I hear people complain about ag smells because do you want to eat? Do you want to wear clothing? Do you want to live in a house? Then
yeah,
yeah. Anyway.
yeah. So real quick,
Yeah.
that particular incident there with the ag commissioner said, "Oh, it's $400,000." So back up one step. California has the worst hemp agricultural laws in the entire United States. We have 52 ag commissioners. So that means if I have like a Jinma fiber seed, or I've got a OG cherry CBD seed, and I want to sell that seed in 52 counties, I have 52 farmers, I have to take the paperwork. I'm getting excited here. I would have to take that seed paperwork and get it approved by 52 ag commissioners. So, in each approval for an ag, they've narrowed it down to how many hours. So, to approve a seed variety, saying, "Oh, this is a legal seed, I'm going to sign off," it takes them 8 hours of work
Yeah.
at $150 an hour. They average out the average pay for the ag department. So 8 times 150. Okay. I mean, this is insane. I get my calculator. So 8 times 150. It's about $1,200 the county has to spend to approve my seed times 52 counties. So it will cost the state $62,000 to approve my seed in 52 counties for one variety.
Oh my goodness.
And we've tried to explain to them, but they don't listen.
So I've heard other states where they have a hemp program and then they're like, we don't want to do this. And they back out and then it sort of defaults to the USDA program. Could
Yes.
that happen in California?
We're trying to figure that out. We've lost all of our hemp associations here in California. As you know, I think last time we had started the Hemp Farmers Guild here, but it was just right at the downside of the whole industry. The COVID hit, no one was growing hemp. We lost 90% of our acreage, so we just couldn't get the troops to rally, and
Yeah,
so we,
yeah.
we we folded our Hemp Farmers Guild. But the HIA doesn't exist. The NHA and the NHIC, they just do fiber. They don't get into the whole CBD, the hemp nutrition.
NIHC definitely does, and NHA does too. I think lately their NHA is a little more focused on fiber and grain, but there's still a lot of like support in the
Well,
cannabinoid space, I think, but maybe not
yeah,
in
we have
California.
yeah, maybe I'm unaware and maybe I need to be brought up to speed. But as a frontline, lobbyist here in the state and um, promoting it, I don't see those guys,
Yeah.
and maybe I should reach out to them. But most of our farmers here are grain. I mean, I'm sorry, fiber, CBD, and
Hmm.
then grain. We're trying to develop many grain programs, but the cost of farming in California is a little more expensive. We've got some prime land. And the big problem with the grain is the Canadians control 90% of the American market.
Yeah.
I mean, I know buyers at Costco that buy 10, 20 tons of hemp seed and said, look, hey, can you guys maybe do an American grown hemp seed? And they're all price point. They said, look, we can get really good hemp seed for 60 cents a pound, and you guys are selling it for $1 a pound.
Yeah.
They're not going to just buy it because it's American made. That's Costco. But and even the yields, a lot of people don't understand, except in the border states of Canada, North Dakota and stuff, that you get 14 hours of sunlight. And those grain varieties, they produce 1,500 pounds an acre.
Yeah.
We haven't seen anyone produce on average over 600 to 800 pounds of seed per acre.
New West Genetics is on that out of Fort
I've
Collins,
heard
Colorado.
that.
They're looking at I think 2,000 pounds or more in some of their new varieties.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
Yes. So that would be news to a lot of these farmers because we've planted some pretty good acreage over
Yeah.
the years of grain, and the yields just weren't there. And these, we did everything we could to feed it and grow it, and
Yeah.
but yeah.
Cornell is doing some good research up there too on grain yields. They've got some new varieties now that
I think
are gonna
that's the
compete.
future for sure. Grain
yeah.
is
Oh yeah.
once we can get it, and we can come to the mentality of let's support the American farmer over the Canadian farmer. Nothing wrong with the Canadians.
No, we love the Canadians.
With a Chinese seed or
We love the
whatever.
Chinese too. We love everybody. We just want to grow the stuff here. We want to make the stuff here, right? That's what we want. Because that
Yeah,
shouldn't be. We want our people to have livelihood. We want our people to be fed nutritious food. We want our land to be clean. Yeah, we don't need a whole big global network. We just want to take care of ourselves here.
Yes, and I agree to that. And but yeah, I'm going to look out at some of these hemp organizations that because we need representation here in California. We're getting slammed, and we're up against the marijuana lobbyists.
Yeah.
And man, they're powerful. They've got big bucks, and they own a lot of the legislators. They own the governor.
Yeah,
So
clearly.
we got to put on our hemp gloves and
Get in
get some
there.
help.
Yeah. Let's get back to RFK. So, just throwing this out there. You call him up. You get him to join us on the show in a couple of months, and we'll talk about hemp.
He might have
Think about it. Consider it.
Actually, the last time I spoke with them was with Jack Herrer and Captain Ed at El Camino College.
Oh,
in,
you haven't
Los
seen him since
Angeles.
then?
I've seen his brothers and his cousins.
All right.
I was gonna reach out, and there's probably 10 walls in front of them, but I believe the NHA or one of the big groups has reached out to him. But if he saw me,
Jeff
he
Whaling,
didn't
I
remember
think.
me. I didn't hang out with him. He was
okay.
in the neighborhood. Put it that way.
All right. Fair enough. Okay. So you're not like, he's not on speed dial. You can't just call him up. But, all right.
No, yeah.
Probably better that way. Cool. Well, this is great. Thank you for joining me today. I'm not sure if we've wrapped anything up or come to any conclusions, but I've learned a lot, and I've enjoyed hearing your stories and listening to you talk.
I really appreciate that, and I hope I was informative to your listeners and getting the hemp message out there. And I think we have a huge hemp economy ahead of us. So,
Yeah, amen to that.
35 years every day in hemp. I've not left day one. So since 1990. So I'm here to stay.
Awesome. Cool. Well, glad you're here.
Yeah. I was going to say, those the artwork behind you, is that hemp?
It is, yes. Thank you for noticing. It's 3 hempcrete panels that I made with Cameron McIntosh. He's a hempcrete builder here in Pennsylvania. So yeah, it's a cast in place. We used 3 different pigments, 3 different blues, and it turned out way better than I expected it to.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what it was going to be, but I wanted some sound panels for the studio here.
Yeah.
And they're really heavy. They're 60 pounds a piece. They're 3.5 inches thick. This is a prototype. When I make them again, I'm going to make them thinner. But yeah, it turned out it's sort of like, it looks like water, or it might sort of look like hills.
Yeah, no, I love it. I just got a text from somebody in Pennsylvania. Do you know Cindy from Planet Hemp Cafe?
That sounds really familiar. Where's Planet Hemp Cafe?
They're opening this full Planet Hemp Cafe restaurant in Pennsylvania. Hemp burgers and hemp pastas and hemp. Oh man, she is just amazing.
Where's that happening?
I could Google it, just Planet Hemp Cafe.
I'm going.
Dude, I'm like, come out to California and do that. We used to talk about that back in the day, like the hemp store, the hemp restaurant. And
I'm surprised you don't have it there already.
yeah, we had the hemp stores back in the 90s, but they're all hemp get high stores. They won't even sell our product. They're like, well, do you have any THC in it? And I'm like, no, this is like, it's a superfood of superfoods. It's got CBDA in it, but still.
Right.
Anyways, yeah, check out Planet Hemp
Yeah.
Cafe.
Okay. Yeah, I'm checking it out now. So yeah, I think that's relatively nearby. She's in cahoots with Sean House. He's the hemp pretzel guy. So
Yep.
cool. All right. Wow.
Yeah.
You're breaking. You've got breaking hemp news to share with me about Pennsylvania. I
figured
love
it came
that.
in, it popped up real time
Cool.
in your
All right.
neighborhood.
I just learned about hemp coffins that are made in Pennsylvania. So
Wow.
that'll be a show coming up soon. But yeah, man, thank you so much for explaining California a little bit to me. Because yeah, from here, it's a weird place you got out there. So and we love it. We love California, but it's like a whole other world, whole other country.
It is. It's massive. It's incredible. It's beautiful. I mean, there's nothing
Yeah.
like it. It's just the diversity and dealing with the politics and the people and everything. It's crazy.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, I look forward to seeing you sometime maybe this year.
Maybe at the Hemp Expo in Colorado.
I won't make it to NOCO this year, but maybe later in the summer. I think we're having some cool hemp events in Pennsylvania next summer that you should come out to.
Yeah, I would love to.
The Lancaster County Hemp Circuit. They
That's
did it last year, and they're going to do it again this year. So we'll keep in touch. So be well. Happy New Year, and talk to you soon.
Thank you again.
All right. There you go. Chris Boucher from JuiceTiva. And so, yeah, now I know a little bit more about California. I'm not sure I understand much more about California, but that's the way it goes. Anyway, if you enjoyed today's show, hey, do me a favor, share it with somebody, right? What I'm trying to do now this year is get more listeners, right? I love all of you, but I want more of you. So if you could please share this episode, that'd be great. Okay. So anyway, my name is Eric Herlock. I am the senior digital editor at Lancaster Farming Newspaper, the greatest agricultural newspaper in the world. Check us out online at lancasterfarming.com. Be sure to follow along this story. We're covering it for you from the farmer perspective. I think in your other news outlets, you're not going to get the farmer perspective on what's happening in Washington, D.C., but you get it here at Lancaster Farming Newspaper. So, yeah, lots to be thankful for. when it comes to Lancaster farming. Anyway, if you have questions for me or comments or whatever, you can always send an email to me directly. Send it to podcast@lancasterfarming.com. All right, what else? I'm always looking for people to talk to. If you've got some ideas or you just want to chat, reach out to me. I really do enjoy talking to people, especially about industrial hemp. So, okay, that does it for me. Until next time, I will see you in the newspaper. This episode is copyright 2025 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Stemming Communications family. Today's show is written, recorded, edited, and produced by Eric Harlock. The music here throughout the show is courtesy of Tin Bird Shadow.
Industrial hemp. 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 Industrial hemp.